Hello everybody, welcome back to Newcastle Fans TV. Newcastle have won it in the last minute. They've beaten Fulham by a goal to nil. Gimme a striker from Sweden, Alexander Isak, coming off the bench. Make sure that Newcastle United are victorious once again. I'm with Carl and I'm with Lee for Scoring the Players live. Make sure you like this video, comment, we'll get the best comments as well. Lee will be in charge of that, and subscribe to the channel on the way to 40,000 subscribers. That'd be absolutely lovely. It really would. Carl, I'll let you start with Nick Pope. I think he just decided to make it really difficult for Mitrovic in terms of the penalty. He just decided to, really outpsych him. So he had that double touch.
He did give it to him. He did give a bit to him. To be fair, they were exchanging some words. I'd love to know what they were saying, to be fair.
I think it was something on the lines of, you're not going to score this. You're not going to save this, in maybe a bit harsher words. But in terms of his overall performance, Nick Pope, do you really have much to do?
No.
Say this every week.
Yeah, I know. His distribution was very good, though, today. And when, on the off chance that someone does get in behind Botman and Schär, albeit very rarely at the moment, he's almost like a fifth defender. So I'll give him I won't do no 0.5s today. I'll give him a 7 just because he's not had much to do.
So we scored him last time out as well, because it was exactly the same. Last time we were in here in the studio the other night, Leicester didn't threaten it either, so we'll give him a 7.
I was a bit worried about him, to be fair, because he went down for about a couple of minutes and he had a little bit of a niggle, but he seemed to brush that off pretty quickly. But yeah, he's like a fifth defender even when he has got something to do. So solid 7. Nothing more, nothing less.
Nothing more, nothing less. Lee, I'm going to give you Dan Burn because he's from Blythe.
Pretty brown eyes.
Stop it, you flirt. Yeah, look.
Okay, did you notice that came on at the end?
Yeah, it was meant.
But then they cut it after 20 seconds. Like, what?
And they put the Rafa Benitez song on as well. Well, nothing against Rafa, but wasn't the time or the place. In general, you had Willian. I thought was giving him not too many issues, but he's got nice flicks and nice touches. Willian, he hasn't always got the pace. He's lost a yard or two. And I thought when Dan James came on, I think that was a substitute I think most Fulham fans and Newcastle fans were going to expect when they've seen the team news. But on the whole, comfortable afternoon, would you say?
Yeah. Willian's more inverted winger where he likes to come in. Obviously, when he's playing on the left and the right over the years for Chelsea and Arsenal. But yeah, Dan James, when he came on later on, is more a pest, isn't he? It's probably the way I'd describe it, where he's just very direct, small, diminutive with pace. But
I still didn't really notice him that much, though, to be fair. Dan James.
I didn't think Fulham had much of the ball doing that side, to be honest. I'm going to score him an 8. I don't think he was massively tested today. Good score, though, an 8 out of 10. Comfortable. This back 4/5 is keeping clean sheets game after game after game after game, which is quite incredible. If you look at the total tally, how much all that back 4 and 5 costs, you're probably talking under 50 million for the back 5.
It's mad. Like, people talk about, I've seen people, especially fans of your likes of Chelsea and Tottenham, and they're just giving these comments on Twitter like, oh, I've watched Newcastle and they're just not I thought they were a good side, but we've seen them play today. They're just not a very good side. And it's just rubbish because the people that sit in are the ones that come and play us. It's not us. We're just very, very good defensively.
Well, you can tell those Chelsea fans because they're not very good at the minute either, sitting in mid-table. Yes, Johnny, 8 out of 10.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. I'm going to move it into the centre halves. Who am I going to have? I'm going to have Fabian Schär, I know Sven Botman's next in the line, but I'm going to go Fabian Schär just because I can choose. Man. I thought he was the one man that, in terms of defence, that was trying to have that forward pass. I felt he was more dominant in terms of wanting to do something. You could tell he was almost a little bit irritated at times.
Hit the post.
Pardon?
Hit the post.
Hit the post with a free kick. I think everyone expected Kieran Trippier, but he's got so much confidence at the minute that you're not surprised that he can do something like that at the minute. Very, very unlucky not to get a goal. Wasn't at fault for any of the penalty decisions that I'm aware of. I think it was Sven Botman, which we'll touch about in a second, which Carl will have the delight of marking on that one. I thought Fabian Schär was unreal. Well I thought Fabian Schär was really, really unlucky not to get a goal and another clean sheet. I'm going 9 out of 10 for Fabian Schär.
He's the oldest.
Done me a favour there.
Yeah, he's the oldest in the squad, isn't he? Well, I say squad, Dubravka is now.
Yeah,
it's his birthday, but
I understand
he's got the experience.
Yeah, I understand why people might go a bit too high, but I think generally speaking, I just thought he was the only person that was looking to actually try and do something. Even in the first half, I felt he was the one looking to do something, and I think that's why just about he gets a 9. I think the fact that we've won probably adds an extra mark on, but I thought he was the best out of the back 4 today.
Just before you go to ask Carl about Sven Botman, because I get a lot of sticks in Fabian. This is my day. This one. I got a lot of sticks saying Fabian Schär's had a better season than Sven Botman.
I think,
But, you know, we haven't lost when Fabian Schär's played. He's not flash, but he used to be. He's calm. He can bring the ball out, as Johnny says. I think a lot of people, including opposition fans, just don't look at him and think, fuck me, that's a good defender, that.
do you know what? And you're right, because I've spoken to
He needs more
lots of
praise.
my friends that aren't Newcastle fans, and I mentioned to them previous when he's had good seasons under Rafa, for example. You say, "Oh, he's an excellent centre half," and they're like, but people don't watch him. And I think when you've got someone like Botman who's coming, he's been a bit, he's been the talk of the toon, hasn't he? Essentially, so he's unfortunately for Schär, he's going to miss a bit. But I do agree that you can't argue against the stats, really.
I think it's so close between the two, but mine's still at the minute just slightly Fabian Schär because he doesn't tug at people's shirts.
He doesn't. But before we go on to Botman, Botman's been so stellar.
Yeah.
Like you look at that clip that they put on of Botman when it was his birthday. He does read the game very, very well.
Massively well.
But they're both very, very similar, Carl. And that's probably why it's the perfect combination. And 40, if you're listening, I said this all along. You want a Dan Burn there. Honestly, listen to the voice of reason. Come on. Let's move on to Sven Botman, though. What do you think, Carl?
I think, honestly, within the first 10 minutes, there was a couple of times where I've just said to Lee before we went live, I wasn't really sure what, and to yourself, wasn't really sure what Fulham's game plan was. And, you've turned around and said, I think it was to come and get a point. But in the first 5-10 minutes, there was a couple of times where Mitro's gone up to get the ball and it looked like there could have been a real battle between him and Botman. And I thought, well, if Fulham do that more and they want to go for a win, that's their route to go for a win. But it didn't happen. And I think that was because of Schär helping out as well. But Botman didn't have his best game in terms of he wasn't playing the ball the way he usually would do. But again, I think that's because Schär had such a good game. Unfortunately, Botman's give away the penalty.
Stupid, naive.
Yeah, he's young though, isn't he? You're going to get this. Like you say, the kid has been absolutely that he hasn't put a foot wrong since he signed for us. So these things are going to happen. He'll learn from it. He looks like the type of lad that probably won't do it again, to be honest, in that circumstance. Yeah, it's literally that just comes down to naivety and age. And I think you giving him giving Schär a 9 has definitely pulled me out of a hole. So I can give a comfortable 7 to Botman. I wouldn't want to give him like a 5 or a 6. That'd hurt me.
Just before I move on, Chelsea have beaten Crystal Palace, but more importantly, there's been 2 goals in the North London derby. Tottenham trail by 2-0 in the North London
helps us
derby.
out.
Lloris with an own goal and Ødegaard just before half-time. It's nearly half-time. If there's any other goals or anything, we'll let you know. But Arsenal look to go 8 points clear of Manchester City. But more importantly, Newcastle are going to stay 5 points clear of Tottenham, who are in 5th place, which is really, really
again
important.
Shows how much important today's win was.
It really was. I'll tell you who we should talk about. We should talk about Tottenham a little bit more because there's a former Tottenham fullback playing for Newcastle at right back, and I've been banging on since he was at Burnley that I wanted him here. I'm so glad he is. It's Kieran Trippier. He was given man of the match by Sky. I personally wouldn't have done that for his crossing ability, Lee, but defensively, quite happy-ish.
Yeah, experience again. I think he's just older than Kieran Trippier, isn't he, by half a year, whatever. But it's experience that he's got, the cleverness, the ounce about him, but a couple of sloppy passes as well. Let's not forget going forward. Yeah, he's part of that defence. I'm going to score him an 8. But
how's he got man of the match? No disrespect to him. How's he got man of the match? It wasn't even close.
I have a man of the match in mind, but I'll talk about that later.
But he wasn't even the best.
I don't think there's anybody that stands out and think, wow, he was amazing.
I do. I think there's one player in particular.
Which I know you're going to come at to. Because he's in the news.
In
the defence, I know Fabian Schär's got a 9 that you give him, but I don't think there's anybody that's wow. Like, I think they're all good performances today, minus the Botman for the daft penalty. But apart from the penalty incidents, Botman was fine. But Kieran Trippier, 8 out of 10. Not his greatest game. Surprised he allowed Fabian Schär to have that free kick as well. But sloppy passes, crossing ability is not great. But defensively, he's probably up there with Kyle Walker.
You never worried,
England's best right back.
You never worried.
Does he deserve, Carl, to be in team of the season right now for right back?
Yeah, definitely. I think he does. And I think we're very quick to give him the plaudits that he deserves, and rightly so. But I don't think he should automatically then be given the fact that, the man of the match today, he was nowhere near man of the match for me. I might feel differently watching it back, but like I said, I'm not trying to bash him. I just thought his delivery was pretty poor by his standards today. And I said that a couple of weeks ago as well. Defensively, we're never worried with him at all. But I agree, play some sloppy passes, and there were better players than him today. But it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
Someone's just said in the comments, I know that Trippier give away the penalty.
No, it was Botman.
Yeah, someone's. Let us know because
we haven't seen the game back, but someone said Botman was punching the air, punching.
And it looked like Botman pulled his shirt though.
I think it was Botman pulled his shirt for the first one, but we'll see. Maybe it was true. We're finding out. We're getting some sources. It is half time now at Tottenham. It's still 2-0 to Arsenal at half time. Midfield. Who am I going to choose?
It was Trippier who gave away the penalty.
Trippier.
I'll stick it. So I'll still stick it as an 8 for Trippier because I thought it was Botman, to be fair.
Yeah.
One of those things. Again, apologies, but when you watch the game live, trying to remember everything, it is very, very difficult. But Lee apologises on behalf of everybody Newcastle Fans TV. His honestly,
I think you should have Botman score.
Botman gets an 8.
These two, their futures will be discussed. I'm telling you that. Where's 40 when you need him? Honestly,
the voice of reason.
He wants Dan Burn at centre half.
Exactly. What's he talking about? I'm the only one that
talks about everybody's saying Trippier. Everybody's saying
Keep hammering Lee in the comments, make him feel worse than he actually is. Right, I'll talk properly about Newcastle United, honestly. The amateurs. Midfield, do you know what? Because I think he was the best player on the park, Joe Linton. I'm going to have Joe Linton. There was obviously a lot of debate. Do you start him? Do you not start him? He should start because of this reason. He shouldn't start because of this reason. So, Eddie Howe, we've said this in the last word, little spoiler, couldn't win. Could not win today. But if you're just judging Joe Linton just on his overall performance today, he was outstanding. He was really, really good today for Newcastle. Particularly second half. There's a couple of nice little touches where the ball was played forward to him, and we just needed something, and that won us the free kick for Scher to hit the post.
The touch, mate, the vision, and being that step ahead to open out his body to do 2 defenders. I said to you, Dad, before, it was unbelievable.
I think the one thing I will say is, and we'll keep having this debate, Joe Linton's better in that midfield three.
Yeah, 100%.
And then when you have Isak coming in, and it was a 4-2-3-1, which I think surprised a lot of people. I think when you look at that side of things, he actually looked comfortable in the 2, like a 2 central midfielder. Maybe the fact that he had a bit more license to move around, he created a bit more space. I felt that we had more space in the midfield when it went to 2, the 4-2-3-1. Look, I know there was gaps for Fulham to utilise, but they didn't really try. So that's another good thing from us. It's another headache, but in terms of Joe Linton, it's a 9.
Probably because all the carry on that he's had, he'll want to play today.
Yeah, he probably did, and I think now they don't have to talk about it anymore until we find out what his punishment will be. And I'm sure he'll just accept to take like a man and go, right, that's it. I'll take my punishment and we'll move on. But I think that closes the story on this for now. 9 out of 10 for Joe Linton from me today. He was my man of the match. I think Fabian Scher runs him close, and I've given them both a 9, but Joe Linton was a 9.1 if you like. Bruno Guimaraes, Carl, injury, twisted his ankle according to Eddie Howe. Have a scan on it, but he played in pain for 20 minutes.
Yeah, which is a testament to his character as well. It's one of those things, you look at that and it's exactly the type of player that you want at Newcastle United. I thought he did okay. There was a couple, I think he played a reverse pass through to Miggy in the first half that was unbelievable. I think he played the 4:45, didn't he? I mean, I'll probably give him a 6 just because of the injury. It's obviously hindered him for 20 minutes. Everyone around us could see that he needed to come off earlier, but
should he have come off earlier?
I think so personally, but I think maybe Eddie Howe's probably, because I think they spoke a couple of times. Bruno went over to the sideline and probably said, "Look, let me try and run it off." And I think he's that type of player where Eddie might have wanted to take him off, and Bruno said no. To be fair,
if it's a defender, you take them off straight away.
I don't know if many people noticed, but Newcastle had a corner, and Bruno was obviously struggling a little bit. And Nick Pope went over to Jason Tindall. 30 seconds later, Nick Pope was on the floor complaining of a sore leg. Very clever. To get Bruno some time to let's just check that ankle.
So I didn't notice that. That's why I said it when I was giving Nick Pope score. I thought Nick
no, he
Pope
wasn't.
Niggled his foot.
I was sitting next to me dad today, and we just gone, I wonder what he said. But it was interesting. But I think it's just being clever. It's being clever. And look, it's tactics that we never used to do. So we're not here to be popular.
Go play. Go play.
We're here to compete. There's now 200 of us watching right now. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to Newcastle Fans TV. Greatly appreciate it. What did you get, Bruno?
A 6, but it's just because he literally couldn't couldn't run at one point. And like I said, he's the type of player you want on the side. He'll give everything he's got. And I don't think he'd have wanted to come off, to be fair, but I think he'd realise that it could, from what we've potentially seen, it could be he's quite worried about his injury, ankle injury. So I reckon it could be 5 to 6 weeks personally.
Hope not. We'll see. Let's not assume. Especially when it comes to Newcastle United. One player that did get taken off was Joe Willock. Just thought he couldn't really get involved in today's game. He had that one burst of pace in the first half, but a couple of nice little touches here and there. But I think he was sacrificed really for Isak, wasn't he?
Yeah, but you've got to give credit Eddie Howe for that, which to talk about, because that's clever tactical awareness of what's happening on the field. But yeah, Joe Willock, he was sensational midweek. So, and I think when he plays well, I think we're guilty of this as a channel as well. We don't heap the praise on him as much as what really that we should. Not his greatest performance. No, he's obviously Joe Linton's gone back into set midfield and say, right, I'm going to take this game by the scruff of the neck with some nice touches. And Willock's more of a ball runner, and he likes to change. And I think he suffered a little bit because of the being using that tactic on the left where Willock and Joe Linton alternate. That gives Willock the opportunity to run. When ESM comes over there, that's not going to happen. You can't play ESM in centre mid. He's not that kind of player. But yeah, I'll score him a 7. I think it's. I don't think it's as bad as.
How quick is he on the ball, by the way? How quick is he on the ball? I've never really realised how quick he was.
And he's tall now. He's about 6'2".
Yeah, he's a big lad.
He's one of those. Yeah, he's one of those lads where sometimes he looks like he's being really lazy, and then the next thing you know, he's like Usain Bolt on the ball. It's unbelievable.
Lee, if Newcastle go 4-2-3-1, where does Joe Willock play?
Can I play centre mid?
Does he get in the team though in a 4-2-3-1?
He has to.
Who does he take the place off?
So
when everybody's fit.
So. No, not if everyone's fit. I thought you meant in terms of injuries right now, you've got to play Joe Linton back in centre mid now. You've got to just allow ESM just to go. Say with the Palace game, I'll just give ESM that license, and maybe you need one of the centre midfield just to come over at that left, a bit like Gary Speed used to back in the day, just to cover Laurent Robert, ESM. So I would do that personally. I think Joe Linton's got to be midfield, man. I know you had a good game midweek, and he just loves playing Leicester, but for 40 games, 50 games a season, I can't see Joe Linton playing 25 in a decent level. I don't think.
We'll see.
I prefer him in centre mid.
We'll see. Sean Longstaff next to me got into a great space, great area of the park when Bruno plays him through, which was a great challenge. There was a couple of times where his shots went high and wide and not so handsome, especially in the second half. I think it was like the first couple of minutes in the Gallagher. It was a good opportunity, but
went over the stand.
Yeah, I think it wasn't far. Nearly hit me in row V. But the one thing I will say, I felt that he was, again, I think because the fact that Fulham tried to settle for a point, I felt he was good when he had the ball. So, and the thing is as well, I think there was a couple of times where he was playing the ball forward. I don't know because if Isak was in better places, but he was looking more for that forward pass rather than the sideways pass, which is good to see. And he gets the cross for Callum Wilson, who plays it to Isak on the line. So on that performance, I'm going to give him an 8 today.
I would agree.
I thought he had a really good game.
I did as well. There's times where he is the scapegoat, and again, we're guilty of that as well on the channel. We pick on him.
People that are sat in row C in the Gallagher have a day off. He's not as bad as you make him out. He's just an easy
target.
Yeah, he was had.
It's like Paul Dummett was. Paul Dummett was for a few years.
It's the thing. It's one of those things when it's one of your own. I think well, they get it. The Newcastle fan, they're a Liverpool fan, they're a Man United fan, whatever, because they were born there. But no, I thought again as well in terms of the whole midfield. It had to take someone to, especially when Bruno came off. And everyone knows Bruno's our star player. It had to take someone to go. Well, who's gonna take it by the scruff of the neck? Yeah. And Joe Linton did that to an extent, but I thought Sean just was there just as much.
We'll say it every time, Johnny's consistency, because next game against Palace, he might be shocked and get a 6.
I'm so happy.
He needs 7, 8, and 9, like the rest of them around him, consistently now.
Yeah.
Is he the player to do that?
You never know. Never know if you play with better players. Sometimes you get more out of them, especially when you look at the fact that Bruno, unbelievable player, Joe Linton in midfield is an unbelievable player. You never know. But yeah, 8 out of 10 for Sean Longstaff. Tell me if you agree with my ratings in the comments so far. Mickey Almiron had a chance from Fabian Schär hitting the post from the free kick. He tried to get back in and it was deflected wide. I don't think we utilised him too much. I felt Fulham actually did a job on that Trippier Almiron. In terms of that, the passing, especially in the second half, first half, it worked a couple of times, but not many. Not quiet. I wouldn't say it was quiet, but not as ruthless, maybe.
I felt that the intent was there, and he was always trying to make that run in behind, and it wasn't necessarily receiving the balls that he was expecting or what you'd expect from that partnership. And when he did, he just hates. He's trying to bring it back onto his right foot all the time, isn't he? So it's difficult at times watching it, but I don't think he had that bad of a game. I thought I thought other than maybe not receiving as much service as he usually would, I thought he had every intent. His work ethic was there. Defensively played well. I don't think we had that many people in the box today when we were going forward as well, and I think that kind of hindered him as well. But I think he'd give him a 7. Energy was there. He's starting on the team sheet every week for me. I think he's indispensable at the moment. He really is.
I think 7 out of 10 is fair. Yeah. I really, really do. I think, again, not a bad performance by any stretch of the imagination, but so maybe we're being a bit greedy because he's been so good in amount of goals and assists. Well, from goals in particular, he's scored. It's just been outstanding so far. A man that did get an assist, Callum Wilson, had 2 really good chances in the first half. I thought he was a nuisance to Fulham's central defenders. It was a good battle at times, especially with Tim Ream. But sometimes you just need an out-and-out striker just think about it. And I think as well, he could have easily had another shot from that second bounce, if you like, from that cross. But he sees Isak there, who's not going to miss from there. And Newcastle are coming away with 3 points. I don't think he gave Fulham too much time to relax. Lee, what would you give him today?
If he didn't get that assist, I would have probably knocked him down a bit because he's had so many chances today.
Do you not think that?
But in one sense, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because he's getting a lot of chances. You want that next game, the next game, because you think, he's going to score 1 or 2 every game if I have, because he had 6 or 7 chances today. And as long as they keep happening, but you probably should have scored at least, especially one of he had a couple of free headers from corners, which should have got on target. But because he's grabbed the assist, I'll score him an 8. Probably would have knocked him down a peg if he didn't grab that assist and that awareness about him. But in the minute, I know we'll talk about Isak, but it looks like Callum Wilson's getting the nod over Isak in the centre in the striker role, because Isak's obviously brought in as behind Callum Wilson. But yeah, 8 out of 10, and he'll score goals. Keep feeding him.
He will. Look, he hasn't scored since Aston Villa in the Premier League. I know they've had a World Cup in the middle of that, but
I think that's the reason that everyone else is scoring. I think what he does goes unnoticed. He drags in the fullbacks, he drags in the centre halves because they know they can't let him have the ball because of the pace that he's got. So it allows people like ASM, Isak, Miggy, for example. When you got 4 or 5 players with pace that are running at you, you're bereft of ideas. Some one of them is going to score. It doesn't have to be Callum Wilson.
And it's his awareness as well. Because remember the England game when they were battering Iran, he was through on goal. We were like, go on, Edith, go on. But he squares at Jack Grealish. I'm like, what are you doing?
But he's not Harry Kane.
You don't watch England?
No, I watched that one.
Well, you watched that one, didn't he?
He's not going to bury.
Watch the last 2 England games.
He's not going to bury 25-yard screamers across goal. He's not that type of striker who does everything.
Poacher in the box. That's what he is. But he's a fantastic striker. And look, he will get goals. He's going to get more chances, so he will get goals. First substitution was Alan Saint-Maximin, came on for Bruno at half time. Everyone was dying to see him. Really, I think that a lot of people wanted to see Saint-Maximin. I've spoken highly about him for a long time, but he got a good half of football. I think he really petrified Fulham's defence. Really, really did. He could have scored. Very unlucky, just gone wide.
Yeah, it was a good chance. He did really well, to be fair.
It links up well with Isak as well. As a couple of nice little passes there, but
they're all ballers, aren't they?
Yeah. Just the one thing that still bugs me with Alan Saint-Maximin. Only beat your man once. Don't need to beat him 3 times. But I think that will come with time. I know we've been saying this a long time, but I think that will come with more time. He doesn't do it as much as he normally does, but still occasional. What would I give him today? I'll give him a 7 out of 10 today. I think he showed. I think it might be more if he played the full game or played more of the game. But in what he gave Newcastle in that second half, I think he was a real threat going forward. But
just lifted the atmosphere massively as well. Him just being on the pitch, to be fair, and I think obviously we all know that helps. Just gets you off the seat, doesn't it? And then everyone starts.
The thing is, though, right? Say if we make the cup final, I want ESM starting. I want him running at Dalot. I want Dalot against saint-Maximin.
Or Serge Aurier.
Or
Serge Aurier.
Serge Aurier.
Person not in Forest.
Oh, for Forest. Well, yeah, ideally, but you expect.
I know what you mean.
I'm thinking Newcastle and Man United automatically. I'm getting ahead of myself, but you want ESM if we're attacking. You want him there, don't you?
Of course you do. course you do.
One-on-one. And yes, he's going to frustrate. Yes, he's going to give the ball away, but you can beat one or two players, and he just needs this season, for the rest of the season, is stay away from niggly injuries, which has forced him to have a bench role because he can't get in the side.
The only qualm that I have is that I'm sat there, and obviously they will see it as well, but he sits a lot deeper at the moment, and he wants the ball to feet, and then he wants to run at defenders so many times because of the way that we play. There's opportunities for him to get in between the fullback and the centre half and make that run. He doesn't do it, and I'm just like, you've got the pace to beat everyone as well. You don't need to run at them with the ball. Sometimes I just wish he kind of switched that up with his game, but I'd be interested to see why they don't do that, because it's quite apparent that he's been said. They've told him to play as an out-and-out winger and sit on the byline and get the ball. Yeah,
100%. Look, we've had Bruno in the middle, we've had Botman in the back, but we haven't really seen much of Isak in attack. But we did today, and he's got the winner. He's the match winner. He was doing all the interviews afterwards as well on the pitch. And Carl, he's the one with the headlines today. Look, he's not going to miss that. No one will miss that unless you're Sam Milner. But
I don't think Sam can get in the box, or he would have.
I don't know. We'll see. Let us know in the comments, Sam. I know you're listening. But in all seriousness, I know the goal is the goal, but I didn't think he made an impact when he came on.
Yeah, I said this last week. He's like a gazelle. He literally just glides with the ball when he runs, and he's so good on the ball as well. He's like you said, he's a baller in terms of, he's a very technical, skillful player. Another one that wants to run at defenders, but he's got that predatory instinct as a striker as well. So the very fact, like we said, and we said in videos, there's other players on the pitch, the likes of Bruno, for example, that might not be in there, or Sean Longstaff might not have been in that position, and we don't get a goal from there. The ball just goes across. But
honestly, Carl, we don't.
No.
If Isak's not on the pitch and that's another centre midfielder, we don't score there.
Definitely not with who was on the pitch today. Definitely not. And I think we've been missing that, haven't we? And it's one of those things. Well, Callum Wilson doesn't score. Isak scores. Do you know, we worry about the strength and depth that we've got, but that first 11 is a very, very good first 11, or first 13, I'll say, with Maxi and Isak coming off the bench.
You just don't like the third sub, Jacob Murphy.
Yeah, I mean, I love him. He's clearly, he's a brilliant professional, but he's just not up to our level at the moment, is he?
What would you give Isak?
Because he's got the goal. I'll give him an 8 actually, because I think he dragged the play out really well.
Isak gets an 8 for playing about 25 minutes, 30 minutes. But anyway, he gets the marking of 8 from Carl. Jacob Murphy wasn't on long enough for me. He was only on for 6 minutes plus injury time, so it's non-applicable, which is probably a good thing. Eddie Howe. How to make a big decision. Leon, I'll let you start off with the marks and what you think with Bruno's injury and what he was going to do. Some people would say that it was necessary to bring Maxi on to drop Joe Linton, but he could have put Jacob Murphy in there for one. But I think the big substitution as well, which is what you mentioned before, was who to bring Isak on for, and that formation change. Another win, moving up to third, and by the look of it, with the Tottenham Arsenal score, comfortably in third now. Comfortably ahead of the chasing pack for the top 4. Good deal around once again.
If we didn't score, I think there would have been negativity though, because that would have been 3 Premier League games without a goal. So,
what would you say he could have done differently if that happened?
Yeah, you start ESM, maybe change it around, maybe you put Isak as a striker. Yeah, but we got the goal. That's the end. They're all ifs, buts, and maybes. And so, first of all, lineup. Yeah, you are right about Joe Linton. Would he not? Would he? Play him? I think it does him more better. Well, I think it does more harm if he doesn't play, because then he's got this in the back of his mind. Then he's not playing now. He's being penalised. Look, let the authorities deal with it, and we'll see what happens in a few weeks or whatever. Or sometimes they get delayed for months on end, don't they? We might not know until the summer. You never know. But that was the big one. I think we bossed the game. I think we're on the front foot. Callum Wilson had a ton of chances. We've hit the post with Fabian Schär. The SMs went wide. The big thing I like about Eddie Howe today is that small tweak. Because you're all right, the injury forced the sub. Any other manager probably would have done that. Would have been ESM or Jacob Murphy. But it's the Isak one, because I was critical in the WhatsApp. I said, why is he not playing him up top? It's 0-0. It's got to be the 3rd game in a row where we haven't scored. Why is he playing Isak as a attacker midfielder / number 10? But because you would have thought, you play him on the left or the right, but he's actually played him as the most advanced midfielder and it's worked. And that's why Eddie Howe gets paid the amount of money that he does. And I'm sat here in a little studio with you three talking about it. So I'm totally wrong, and I'm pleased that I'm wrong because he got it spot on. And I don't think many people will probably talk about that, not being Newcastle fans. So it'll be interesting to see if Sky have talked about it, if Match of the Day talk about that Alexander Isak tweak, because that tweak won us the game today.
What are you giving him?
I'm going 10.
10.
I don't think you can do anything wrong. It was a dominant display. I think we are lucky with the penalty because Mitrovic hits it. But if you just take that aside, the Daft Botman pull or the Trippier, what it was now, it's a faultless performance. You can't really, we won the game, we're dominated. If it was 0-0, you might have said, you should have played Isak, or you should have gone 2 up top. But yeah, I'm going 10.
Carl, was another big decision whether to start Joe Linton with everything that was going on. I think that's probably one decision where you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, in terms of Eddie Howe. But he made the right decision once again, probably with talking to Joe Linton with everything that's been going on. Especially when Bruno got injured, it was actually vital for Joe Linton to be on the pitch.
Yeah, I echo everything Lee said, first of all. And I think that what it says, it's a big statement. It says that we will deal what we need to deal with off the pitch. What goes on the pitch, the rest of it is football oriented. You've done something that is illegal. It was a stupid decision, but we're not going to allow that to affect how we move forward as a club and how we play football. So, people are going to have their opinions, and people rightly so will berate him for it because there might have people that have been affected by those things, and that's fine. Everyone will have their own opinion. I was pissed off by it personally, but I'll move on. He'll move on. It won't happen again. And like you said, it will get dealt with legally, and then it will move on. And today was a statement of, we're about football. We'll deal with that in the background and we'll move on. And that was a massive decision. And I think that alone deserves a 10. I agree with you because he's had a fantastic game today. Joe Linton's put it, but he's not allowed it to affect him. He come over to the Gallagher as well, and you can tell that he was basically signing to say, he was literally saying thank you to everyone for the support and apologising as well. So, and I agree with Lee. I don't think Eddie I don't think he could have set us up in any other way to be any better. I thought he deserves a 10 today, definitely. He just handled everything perfectly, and he just doesn't allow outside influences to influence what goes on the pitch.
100%. Look, it's obviously a big decision, and ultimately he's got it right. I think a big, massive factor is the fact we've got a late goal. It shows that we've got that drive. We're not giving up. We're showing a bit of creativity, and that comes from Eddie Howe in terms of what he sends to the players on the pitch. But I'll agree with the marks. I'll go with 10. But the one thing I love, it was a big week for Newcastle. It was a big week for Eddie Howe. Not the fact there was pressure on him, but there was maybe internal pressure. Can you get Newcastle into the semi-final, and can you back it up with the performance against Fulham? I know Fulham, I'm looking at the table right now, they're 6th in the Premier League. They've been very, very good this season. And
if you look at some of their starting 11, last season they played for big top 6 clubs.
But I think the biggest thing I'd like to mention with Eddie Howe, Mitrovic was extremely quiet.
Massively.
That's the biggest thing for me. We all know Fulham are Mitrovic FC.
Mitrovic is a very, very good striker.
Drew is a Geordie.
He really is a good. He is. Rafa, it's one thing I'll always say. I think Rafa got wrong.
Yeah,
and
100%.
Rafa gets a lot of things right. He got the thing with Digne at Everton right because Villa want him gone, but we nullified him today. So
100%. I think the fact that Mitrovic wasn't on song. I know he had the penalty, but that was literally the only shot that he had at Nick Pope, and he was given that shot. If that makes sense. But in terms of Eddie Howe, you look at the Premier League table right now. We're 5 points ahead of the top 4 if Arsenal win this game, but I don't see Tottenham winning this game from this point. I hope I'm right in that sense. But Tottenham have got Manchester City on Thursday, which is Man City's game in hand, but it's an extra game for Tottenham. It's when the Queen dies.
I forgot about Chris Wood, non-applicable.
Oh yeah, sorry, Chris Wood, non-applicable. Apologies, that's my error today. But it looks a little bit healthy. I know Chelsea won, and I'm looking at Liverpool and Chelsea. No disrespect to Brentford, Brighton, and Fulham, but Liverpool 10 points behind. They have a game in hand. Chelsea 10 points behind. They haven't got a game in hand. Who do Liverpool play next week? Chelsea. Hope for a draw at Anfield.
I was going to say, who do you want to win that?
Hopefully a draw at Anfield. That would do me very, very nicely. But yeah, 10 out of 10 for Eddie Howe. I think that's where we'll wrap things up this afternoon. Newcastle have won again. It's been brilliant. Newcastle win the games of football. It puts everybody in a good mood. Smiles on people's faces. Our man of the match. Ooh. Joe Linton. You can't keep out the news, that lad. Like and subscribe to Newcastle Fans TV. see you throughout the week.